I am joined now by U.S. Congressman Brad Sherman. He is a senior member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and former chairman of the Subcommittee on Terrorism. Great to have you here, Congressman. Thanks so much for making the time. I want to first talk about the anti-ISIS policy here in the United States, and I know that you have been calling for a more robust anti-ISIS policy. So what are you saying needs to change?
Well, in our bombing campaign, we're getting more robust. This convoy we hit today, 3 or 4 months ago, we wouldn't have hit it. And the thinking was, even if you're carrying ISIS supplies, you're carrying ISIS oil for export, you might be a civilian driver. Well, you know, during World War II, we hit every train in occupied France that we could hit.
So why would this not have happened 3 or 4 months ago?
Because we had a policy of 0 civilian casualties, and even the people working for ISIS, if they were truck drivers, well, maybe they're civilians. It's hard to distinguish what is and is not a civilian. So
has that changed now, the policy?
That has obviously changed.
And what is the policy?
There is no clear policy that's been announced, but it appears to be you hit the strategic target, just as we did in World War II. And you try to avoid civilian casualties. This isn't a Donald Trump thing where you say you deliberately go after civilians who are related to ISIS fighters. You try to avoid, but if you see a strategic target, you hit the strategic target.
Defeating ISIS is really going to have to be a multi-pronged approach, right? You can't just defeat them on the battlefield. You also mentioned online propaganda, but also what we're seeing is every time that, ISIS has losses on the battlefield, the reality is that we see them export their terror outside their territory. So that's the new reality. So what can be done to defeat ISIS on those fronts that we just talked about, not just the battlefield?
Well, first, we've got to take down their web pages, their Twitter accounts, etc. Gradually, we've been able to do that. Twitter is now cooperating far more than they did a year ago, and so they're going to one-on-one discussions rather than a broadcasting approach. Or then what we need to do is we have to have a message that reflects an understanding of Islam. You can't argue Islam if you don't know Islam. And there's no one at the State Department. We've got tens of millions of dollars being spent on getting our message out, but our message is being written by people who don't know Islam. We haven't hired a single person because they've memorized the Quran.
Great to have this conversation with you. Congressman Brad Sherman, thank you for your time.
Thank you.